A heated verbal clash breaks out between a father and son as they travel toward the town. Xiao Hanzheng dismantles his father's authority with chilling confidence, leaving the deputy governor reeling from his son's newfound cunning and lack of filial warmth. Xiao Hanzheng ruthlessly points out his father's past failures and the disastrous consequences of his obsession with his mistress. The power dynamic shifts entirely as the younger man controls the narrative, forcing his father to acknowledge their temporary, cold-hearted alliance. Swallowing his pride, the deputy governor enters the carriage to negotiate, desperate to recover from his own mistakes. He seeks to use his son's brilliance to his own end, failing to realize he is merely another piece in his son's intricate game. The negotiation deepens as the father reveals a secret message to prove his worth. Xiao Hanzheng remains unmoved by sentimental appeals, treating the alliance as a cold, strategic calculation for power. The father tries to assert conditions, but Xiao Hanzheng masterfully turns the tables, ensuring he remains in control. By demanding his father sow discord among their mutual enemies, the son secures his future influence while keeping his own hands clean. Bound by the necessity of their goals, the two men form a fragile pact. As they prepare to move forward, the father is left to marvel at how his son has evolved into a master manipulator who makes even the most difficult obstacles vanish. The journey continues, and while the father pushes for a direct assault, Xiao Hanzheng remains calm, coordinating a complex pincer movement using carrier pigeons and hidden allies to trap the enemy. As night falls, the silent reinforcements arrive. The father, expecting a direct charge, finds himself sidelined by his son's meticulous preparation and unexpected command over external forces. The enemy's trap springs, and the Ji army reveals itself in the darkness. While the father believes they are lost, Xiao Hanzheng smiles, waiting for the precise moment to turn the tables on the arrogant enemy general. The battle erupts in a blaze of light and sound. Xiao Hanzheng's modified fireworks sow chaos among the elite Ji cavalry, turning their greatest strength into their fatal weakness as horses bolt in terror. Stunned by his son's genius, the father seizes the opportunity to lead the assault. The once invincible Ji elite, now forced into a fight on foot, find themselves ruthlessly cut down by the rallying Daliang forces. The general's attempt to flee is met by a devastating ambush led by Prince Yi. Prince Yi reveals his hidden martial prowess, swiftly defeating the Ji commander and cementing the total victory of the night's operation. The capture of the Ji prince marks a major turning point. Yelu Diguang is left humiliated, his secret identity compromised, and his elite troops decimated by tactics he never anticipated. The alliance between the prince and the civil official is cemented. Xiao Yuanqi observes his son's influence and strategic brilliance with a heavy heart, finally grasping the true scale of the power he had once discarded. With the victory secured, the town is safe. Shi Qingluo celebrates the ingenuity of her husband, whose brilliance as a strategist and innovator has surpassed all expectations, solidifying his status as a legendary figure. The northern border gates part as Xiao Hanzheng reunites with his family, his cold demeanor thawing instantly upon seeing his wife, Shi Qingluo. Prince Yi stands by, observing the family unit with a surprising display of affection that confuses the wary Xiao Yuanqi. The arrival of the detested former father-in-law, Xiao Yuanqi, sours the air. Shi Qingluo wastes no time in baiting the man, finding glee in his obvious discomfort as he realizes he is no longer the center of his family's world. The following morning, Xiao Yuanqi witnesses an intimate breakfast scene that strikes a blow to his pride. Prince Yi is openly courting Mother Xiao, calling her by her given name and doting on her, leaving Xiao Yuanqi struggling to process that his former wife is moving on with a man of higher status. Inside the study, the confrontation escalates. Xiao Yuanqi demands to know the nature of the relationship between his former wife and Prince Yi, desperate to cling to the illusion of his own lingering connection to them. Xiao Hanzheng offers no mercy, explicitly stating that his mother is seeking someone better than the man who failed her. He defends Prince Yi's intentions, highlighting the prince's devotion compared to his father's history of taking concubines. The realization hits home that his children have collectively cast him aside in favor of a new beginning for their mother. Xiao Yuanqi is left grasping at straws, trying to find a reason why such a match could not possibly be blessed by the emperor. Xiao Yuanqi clings to the fantasy of reconciliation, offering to take back Mother Xiao if she leaves the prince. Xiao Hanzheng, sensing his father's pathetic desperation, allows him to maintain his delusions, knowing he is walking straight into a wall of rejection. The group prepares for a mushroom-picking excursion, with Prince Yi exerting his influence to join them. Xiao Yuanqi, unwilling to let his rival have an advantage, forces himself into the trip, determined to sabotage the romantic outing. As they depart, the air is thick with tension. Zai Rong and Shi Qingluo share amused glances, fully aware that the arrogant Xiao Yuanqi is about to face a very difficult day at the hands of the surprisingly cunning Prince Yi. At the foot of the mountain, Prince Yi executes a grand gesture, presenting flowers to Mother Xiao. This romantic display leaves her flushed and touched, further infuriating the observing Xiao Yuanqi, who has no such charm to offer. Desperate to look attentive, Xiao Yuanqi attempts to pick mushrooms for his former wife, only to be humiliated when the others point out that he has chosen highly poisonous ones. Prince Yi mocks his lack of common sense, solidifying his status as the superior suitor. The round goes decisively to Prince Yi. Mother Xiao, having seen through the clumsiness and potential danger of her ex-husband's actions, turns her back on him to walk with the man who has taken the time to learn her interests and keep her safe. The rivalry continues in the wild. Through a calculated prank involving a beehive, Prince Yi manages to lead Xiao Yuanqi into a swarm of bees, leaving the former deputy governor disfigured and embarrassed, while the prince emerges unscathed. The humiliation is complete when Mother Xiao openly criticizes his appearance, calling him scary and ugly. Xiao Yuanqi's pride is in tatters, trapped in his own inability to counter the prince's sharp wit and cruel schemes. As the day ends, Prince Yi lands the final blow, informing Xiao Yuanqi that he was protected from the bees by a powder given to him by Xiao Hanzheng. Xiao Yuanqi is left reeling, realizing his own son has aided his rival in his downfall. Tensions boil over as Liang Yulin brazenly claims Xiao Hanzheng and his siblings as his own, fueling Xiao Yuanqi's rage and leaving the general scrambling to defend his bloodline while Prince Yi remains unfazed by his threats. Xiao Yuanqi begins to question his own past choices. Shi Qingluo notes the scumbag father's sudden, pathetic surge of jealousy, realizing that the prince's calculated provocations are pushing him to a breaking point. The irony is palpable. Xiao Yuanqi arrives itching and swollen, only to find Xiao Hanzheng refusing to help, while Liang Yulin cements his place in the family's favor, leaving the father isolated in his own bitterness. Cast out and ignored, Xiao Yuanqi realizes his influence over his former family is crumbling, his frustration growing as he sees their unity and his own irrelevance. Back at the office, Xiao Hanzheng outmaneuvers his father, deflecting questions about the missing Liang Yulin and Yelu de Guang, while taunting Xiao Yuanqi about his secret dealings with Prince Jin. The fox reveals his true colors as Xiao Hanzheng forces Xiao Yuanqi to confront his own compromised position, highlighting the general's foolishness in trading his own flesh and blood for the influence of the treacherous Ji Chunru. Caught in a web of his own making, Xiao Yuanqi is coerced into doing Xiao Hanzheng's bidding, investigating potential treachery in exchange for a semblance of redemption before the emperor. Used and discarded, Xiao Yuanqi retreats in anger, only to find himself the victim of a coordinated harassment campaign, including a humiliating physical assault by his own kin. With Xiao Yuanqi forced to leave the town, Shi Qingluo and Mother Xiao celebrate the quiet, knowing their strategy of ridicule and exclusion has finally succeeded. Far away in northern city, the atmosphere shifts as Yuan Songling is cast out by Liang Yuzhen, turning the once mighty family into a target of public scandal. The facade of favor shatters as Liang Yuzhen coldly informs Father Yuan that his daughter has been divorced and that the family must pay a massive, ruinous fine to repair the roads. Enraged by Father Yuan's ignorance of the gravity of the betrayal, Liang Yuzhen unleashes his fury, declaring that the Yuan family will be exiled if they do not meet his crushing financial demands. Returning to his home, Father Yuan finds his daughter acting as if nothing has changed, prompting a violent confrontation that signals the end of their delusional comfort. The truth hits home as Yuan Songling is confronted with the reality of her divorce, her father's desperate greed fueling a volatile household breakdown. Public opinion in Northern City turns vicious, with the commoners openly mocking the fall of the former princess and her daughter, delighting in their deserved retribution. Desperate and stripped of her previous power, Yuan Songling attempts to crawl back to Liang Yuzhen, only to be blocked by guards and servants who treat her with nothing but absolute disdain. The family disintegrates, with Father Yuan forced to sell his life's work to cover the debts of his daughter's hubris, leaving Yuan Songling to rot in the cold reality of her disgrace. Cast aside by the prince, Yuan Songling and her daughter find themselves drowning in the cold reality of their fall. Desperate, they track down Liang Yuzhen to beg for a return to their former life of luxury, only to be met with biting rejection. Humiliation is complete as Liang Yuzhen reveals that his past affection was merely a tool to raise them up only to orchestrate their eventual ruin. The mother and daughter are unceremoniously cast out into the streets, left to face the scorn of the world. Back in safety, Xiao Hanzheng shares news of the failed assassination plot against Shi Qingluo. The pair can only laugh at the sheer absurdity of their enemies, who continue to dig their own graves in a futile attempt to lash out. Life in Haiyang County flourishes as roads are repaired and the economy stirs. However, news arrives from the capital regarding Shi Qingluo, whose recent birth of a son has ironically led to even colder treatment from her husband. The mystery deepens as Xiao Hanzheng pieces together the second prince's strange behavior. It appears that by allowing Shi Qingluo to bear a child that is not his own, the prince has orchestrated a humiliating trap for her. Shi Qingluo realizes the sheer brilliance of this cruel scheme. The second prince isn't just ignoring his concubine. He is setting the stage for a total collapse of her world once the truth is finally revealed to her. The domestic atmosphere warms when Liang Yulin arrives in Haiyang County, bearing an imperial decree for his marriage to Mother Xiao. Years of persistent courting and effort have finally paid off with the Empress Dowager's blessing. Mother Xiao is moved to tears, realizing that Liang Yulin fought for their union against all odds. Their commitment to each other sets a new, happy foundation for the family's future. With the marriage secured, Liang Yulin turns to business, warning Xiao Hanzheng of the political machinations behind his impending transfer to Northern City. The family prepares for new challenges in the new year. Liang Yulin reveals how he turned the tables on those trying to manipulate Xiao Hanzheng's career, ensuring he gains the power of a magistrate without falling into a trap. The schemers have unwittingly handed them the very authority they feared. As winter sets in, Shi Qingluo draws upon her knowledge to design a heated brick bed to save the poor of Haiyang County from the freezing cold. This simple invention promises to transform lives. With the successful installation of the prototype, the warmth of the brick bed spreads, providing both physical comfort and the deep gratitude of the citizens, cementing the couple's status as beloved leaders. Friends gather to experience the newfound comfort. Zai Rong is delighted by the design, realizing that this simple architectural change will bring warmth and relief to even the coldest corners of the borderland. Before the group departs for the capital, Shi Qingluo gifts them improved down jackets, a result of the thriving duck-raising program in the villages. These luxurious, warm garments are sure to impress the capital's elite. Friends are overjoyed, realizing that their return to the capital will not only be warm, but also a chance to show off their innovative new treasures. They promise to return to Haiyang County after the New Year celebrations. As the friends depart, Xiao Hanzheng and Shi Qingluo double their efforts, supervising the construction of heated beds across the region. Their legacy of care and innovation continues to grow, making Haiyang County a beacon of hope. As the winter cold sets in, Xiao Hanzheng ensures the quality of the new heated brick beds, strictly vetting the workers to maintain the team's reputation and integrity across Haiyang County. After a successful stint at the northern border, Zai Rui and Liang Yaoxiao return to the capital, their physical transformation and newfound maturity surprising their families. Using the innovative down jackets to distract from his family's persistent pressure to marry, Zai Rui successfully wins over old Master Shi, who is impressed by the surprising warmth and lightness of the attire. The distribution of down garments causes a stir in the mansion. While others are jealous of his success, Zai Rui remains generous, focused on his goal of installing the heated brick beds. In the Liang household, Liang Yaoxiao faces pressure regarding his wealth and marital status, but finds a firm ally in his mother, who scolds the family for their hypocrisy. Liang Mingcheng realizes the political potential of aligning with the rising influence of Xiao Bailey, sparking a new, strategic hope for his son's future marriage. With the news of Prince Ye's affection for the Xiao family, Liang Mingcheng outlines how Xiao Bailey's impending elevation in status makes her an ideal, albeit unconventional, match. Liang Hengxiao attempts to manipulate his brother, Liang Hengyu, into courting Xiao Bailey to secure the loyalty of Prince Yi and Xiao Hanzheng. Knowing the futility of resistance, Liang Hengyu agrees to play along, secretly planning to avoid the mission while navigating the treacherous court politics of his brother. The unconventional sight of Zai Rui and Liang Yaoxiao parading with their intelligent geese turns them into icons, inadvertently starting a craze for keeping geese as pets throughout the capital. Zai Rui unveils the successfully installed heated brick bed to his grandparents, winning over the elders with the sheer comfort of this northern innovation. Recognizing the strategic and personal benefits, Zai Zhenheng encourages Zai Rui to consider Xiao Bailey as a wife, signaling a shift in the family's approach to the young man's future. Caught between embarrassment and curiosity, Zai Rui realizes he does not share his usual repulsion for arranged marriages when the girl in question is Xiao Bailey. The rivalry between the elders continues, with old Master Zai feeling defeated in his attempt to show off, yet more determined than ever for his grandson to win this marital match. With the full support of his parents, Zai Rui's path to courting Xiao Bailey is cleared, provided he learns to show genuine affection instead of his typical impulsive behavior. In a moment of frustration, Zai Rui and Liang Yaoxiao share a drink, where it is revealed that the Liang family is quietly arranging a marriage for Liang Yaoxiao, a prospect he finds suffocating compared to his dreams. Despite the opposition from his powerful family, Liang Yaoxiao declares his intent to conquer the seas, inspired by the stories of the world beyond, rejecting the stagnant path of a traditional official. Recognizing that his family will never support his dangerous, unconventional ambition, Liang Yaoxiao asks Zai Rui to bridge the gap and help him secure an audience with the emperor. Bonded by their shared struggle against family expectations, the two friends candidly discuss their feelings for Xiao Bailey, with Liang Yaoxiao admitting he must succeed independently before he can ever consider marriage. Keeping his word, Zai Rui enters the palace to maneuver court politics on behalf of his friend, successfully piquing the emperor's interest in the potential of overseas trade. Summoned to the palace, Liang Yaoxiao presents the blueprints provided by Shi Qingluo, turning a whimsical dream into a strategic imperial mandate that shocks his skeptical family. The emperor, captivated by the prospect of expanding the nation's reach, agrees to sponsor the project, granting Liang Yaoxiao the title and naval support required to turn his ambition into reality. Back in Heiyang County, Shi Qingluo receives news of the arrangement. She feels no surprise, knowing she has subtly nudged history toward a path of exploration rather than isolation. As Xiao Hanzheng is appointed acting magistrate of Northern City, he rises rapidly in power, leaving a bitter and stagnating Xiao Yuanqi to watch his son's success from the sidelines. Desperate to reclaim his lost control and leverage, Xiao Yuanqi prepares to reclaim his former wife, only to be interrupted by a visit from the haggard and persistent Ji Chunru. Ji Chunru, now fallen from grace, approaches Xiao Yuanqi with a naive demand to return, hoping that her sister's upcoming visit will serve as leverage against him. Xiao Yuanqi, fully aware of the Ji sisters' declining status and broken reputations, cruelly rejects her advances, mocking her reliance on empty family status. Humiliated and rejected, Ji Chunru leaves the mansion, clinging to the false hope that her sister's arrival will allow her to eventually crush the man who once showered her with affection. The couple shares a laugh over the absurdity of their enemies, realizing that the Ji family's web of lies and desperation is about to collapse under the weight of their own bitterness. Xiao Hanzheng reveals the true nature of the coachman the second prince is sending, a man as vicious as the Ji sisters, ensuring the coming months in Northern City will be a chaotic spectacle. With the cycle of retribution spinning fast, the couple prepares to watch their past tormentors destroy one another, comforted by the knowledge that their own future is safe at last. As the new year dawns, the winds of change blow through Heiyang County. Xiao Hanzheng prepares to depart for the northern border, handing his authority to the capable hands of his friend Fei Yuge, leaving behind a transformed county and a tearful, devoted populace. The farewell is heavy with emotion. The villagers shower the couple with parting gifts, and even the faithful goose dummy senses the melancholy of the moment, drawing tears from the children who have come to love them. While the Xiao family journeys toward the north, a different fate unfolds in the capital. Isolated in a neglected side courtyard, Shi Qingluo holds onto a fragile hope for salvation when the second prince unexpectedly appears before her. The second prince brings no comfort, only cold malice. He reveals that his visit is not to welcome Shi Qingluo back to favor, but to cast her out of the manor forever, shattering her delusions with the presence of an unsightly man. The horrific truth is laid bare. Her child, intended to be her ticket to status, is no royal heir, but the product of a forced union with a common coachman. The realization drives her to the edge of sanity as the prince confirms her disgrace. Stripped of her dignity, Shi Qingluo pleads for mercy, but her pleas only deepen the prince's scorn. He condemns her and her child to exile, ordering them to be sent away as dead in the eyes of the royal records. Resigned to her fate, Shi Qingluo gathers what little wealth she has left, her heart filled with a mixture of terror and burning vengeance. She is forcibly escorted out of the capital, her identity erased from the annals of the empire. In the north, Xiao Hanzheng receives news of the prince's actions. With sharp intuition, he had already foreseen this outcome, earning the deep admiration of his wife as they prepare for the trials of their new responsibilities. New alliances and old suspicions form as Zhuo Jun is appointed to assist in the Yemen. Xiao Hanzheng knows that while they may work together, the shadow of Prince Jin looms over his every move. The wheels of fate turn inexorably as the escort team reaches Northern City. Shi Qingluo approaches the next phase of her life, unaware that the stage is set for a collision with her past. Arriving at a modest dwelling, Shi Qingluo expects to find her powerful sister, but finds only a shadow of the life she once knew. The truth of her sister's fall from grace hits her with the force of a landslide. A tearful reunion occurs, but it is one born of shared desperation rather than triumph. Shi Qingluo, once a lady of standing, is now humbled, and the news of her sister's adulterous shame acts as a final blow to their family's prospects. The prince's cruel intent becomes clear. He has unleashed the architect of her disgrace upon the sisters. The coachman, emboldened and shameless, makes his presence felt, signaling a dark new reality for the disgraced women. Behind closed doors, the sisters trade stories of their downfall. Shi Qingluo weaves a tale of victimhood to maintain her sister's sympathy, while both realize their ambitions have been cruelly crushed. Domestic peace is shattered when the coachman stakes his claim, acting as if he is the master of the house. Shi Qingluo's attempts to repel him are met with mocking laughter and a firm refusal to leave. The hierarchy of their pathetic existence is quickly established through violence. The coachman asserts his dominance with a blow to Shi Qingluo, brandishing a fake marriage contract as his weapon to ensure she cannot escape his control. The walls of their temporary home closed in on the sisters. The coachman, emboldened by the cruel instructions of the second prince, held their freedom hostage with threats of the registry office, leaving the disgraced former concubines trapped in a nightmare they could not wake from. Observing from the shadows, the once aspiring warrior Shi Qingluo felt his own spirit shatter. His golden future, once paved with glory in the military, had been reduced to this pathetic, powerless existence, leaving him to wonder how his family's destiny had veered so sharply into ruin. As the coachman asserted his dominance over their few remaining treasures, Shi Qingluo and Shi Qingluo shared a silent, venomous vow of retribution. Despite their outward submission, the seed of a plan to eliminate their tormentor began to take root in the bitter, cold soil of their hearts. The bustling streets of the northern city bore witness to an impossible reunion. Xiao Yuanxi, once cold and distant, now trailed behind Kang Yuelan, his former wife, who had blossomed into a radiant, fierce woman far beyond his reach or recognition. Hidden in the shadows, Shi Qingluo trembled with raw fury as she heard her own husband cast her aside, labeling her a bitch to win favor with the woman he had discarded years ago. The world she knew was unraveling, replaced by the humiliating reality of her own replacement. Dawn was the timid woman of the village. Kong Yuelan met the scumbag's desperate pleas with cold, lethal wit, refusing to offer forgiveness for the sins of the past. Each word she uttered pierced his pride, leaving the man who once commanded armies stuttering in defeat. The tension shattered when Xiao Yuanqi attempted to force his will upon his ex-wife. But he had underestimated the transformation of his daughter-in-law, Shi Qingluo, who moved with lethal grace to disable him, proving that the old rules of power no longer applied. A sharp kick to the chest sent the deputy governor sprawling to the floor. Xiao Yuanqi lay in the dirt of his own ego, his authority stripped away by the very women he thought he could control. Humiliation became his only companion. Facing the threat of toxic retribution, the coward within the man finally flickered to life. Shi Qingluo brandished a packet of poison with a calm, chilling warning, forcing the man who had abandoned his family to retreat into the shadows of his own shame. As he fled his failure, Xiao Yuanqi collided with the source of his current misery, Shi Qingluo. The confrontation was immediate and explosive, as the man who had lost everything lashed out at the woman he blamed for his wretched fate. The veneer of their past affection cracked and shattered under the force of a single slap. Xiao Yuanqi abandoned all pretense of chivalry, declaring Shi Qingluo a jinx and the bane of his existence, shattering her world with accusations of poison and bad luck. Leaving a trail of destruction, Xiao Yuanqi walked away, finally severed from the women he now despised. Left in his wake, Shi Qingluo dissolved into despair, while Shi Qingluo stared at her sister, her mind already spinning with new, darker schemes for survival. The echoes of the humiliation still lingered in the air. While Shi Qingluo wept for the love and status she had lost, Shi Qingluo stood as a cold, calculating observer, her contempt for her sister's weakness growing with every sob. From their perch above, Shi Qingluo and her family savored the collapse of their enemies. They had witnessed the true, ugly colors of the scumbag father and his lover, their spirits lifted by the poetic justice of watching their tormentors devour each other. The stage had been set, and the players were in position. Shi Qingluo remained the only dangerous variable, her mind untouched by the emotional carnage surrounding her, already formulating a way to use her sister's pain as a weapon for her own ascension.